What if I told you there are places in America where the dead don't rest? They linger. Abandoned asylums whispering with lost souls, battlefields echoing with phantom gunfire, and cursed houses where bloodstains never fade. These locations aren't just haunted, they're alive with terror. Tonight, we're uncovering the 10 most haunted places in America, where every shadow has a story, and some stories refuse to stay buried. Lock your doors, turn up the volume, and pray you don't hear a knock after this video, because once you know their secrets, they might just know you too. 1. The Stanley Hotel. The Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, isn't just a grand mountain retreat. It's a labyrinth of lingering spirits and unexplained horrors. Built in 1909 by Freeland O. Stanley, this elegant hotel hides a dark underbelly of paranormal activity, famously inspiring Stephen King's The Shining after his eerie stay in room 217. Guests report phantom piano music drifting from an empty ballroom, the laughter of unseen children echoing through the halls, and sudden cold spots that clutch at the skin like ghostly fingers. Room 217 is ground zero for hauntings. A spectral maid is said to tuck guests into bed or hurl objects in fits of rage. But the horror doesn't end there. The 4th floor is a playground for restless spirits, where shadow figures dart between doors and disembodied whispers slither into ears. Even staff tell of encountering the ghost of Flora Stanley, the founder's wife, still playing her piano long after death. The underground tunnels, once used by servants, now hum with unnatural energy. Some claim to hear muffled screams or feel unseen hands brush past them. The hotel's dark history, including untimely deaths and tragic accidents, fuels the hauntings, leaving skeptics shaken and believers convinced. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of the lights, feels like a warning. You're not alone here. The Stanley doesn't just house ghosts, it feeds on fear. Will you dare to spend the night? To Eastern State Penitentiary. Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, is a crumbling fortress of suffering, its decaying halls whispering the torments of the damned. Opened in 1829, this Gothic nightmare pioneered solitary confinement, a punishment so cruel, inmates called it a fate worse than death. Men went mad in these claustrophobic cells, their desperate scratches still scarring the walls. Now their tortured souls refuse to leave. Visitors report disembodied sobs, phantom footsteps pacing empty corridors, and the sudden gut-wrenching feeling of being watched from the shadows. Cell Block 12 is infamous for echoing with ghostly cackles, believed to be the spirit of a deranged prisoner who died screaming in his chains. Others swear they've seen the ghost of Al Capone, who served time here, weeping in his restored cell, haunted by crimes even he couldn't escape. The air itself feels heavy, thick with the weight of centuries of despair. Some have been shoved by unseen hands, while others flee in terror after hearing ghostly whispers hissing their names. The prison's darkest secret, the underground punishment pits, tiny, lightless holes where men were buried alive for weeks. To this day, something stirs in those depths, something that doesn't want to be forgotten. Eastern State doesn't just hold ghosts. It is a ghost, a monstrous relic of human cruelty that still breathes in the dark. Will you walk its halls, or will they walk you? 3. The Whley House. The Whley House in San Diego, California, isn't just called America's Most Haunted House for nothing. It's a place where the dead refuse to move out. Built in 1857 on land once used as a gallows, the house seems to pulse with a sinister energy. Its creaking floors and whispering walls telling stories of lives cut short. Thomas Whley's family endured unimaginable tragedies here. From the suicide of their youngest son to the sudden death of their daughter Violet, whose ghost still lingers in her old bedroom, her floral perfume drifting through the air when no one's there. Visitors report shadowy figures watching from the corners, the sound of invisible footsteps climbing the stairs, and the eerie sensation of being gently pushed by unseen hands. The parlor, where Violet's wedding never happened, sometimes fills with phantom laughter and music, as if the celebration is still trying to take place. Even the courtroom, where a thief was hanged before a house was built, echoes with the clank of chains and the desperate gasps of a man fighting for his last breath. Some have seen the ghost of Yankee Jim Robinson, swinging from the rafters in a spectral reenactment of his execution. The air grows thick, the temperature drops without warning, and the weight of sorrow presses down like an invisible force. The Whley House doesn't just host ghosts. It is one, a living tomb where the past refuses to die. Will you step inside, or will something step out to meet you? For Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Waverly Hills Sanatorium looms over Louisville, Kentucky like a concrete nightmare, its hollow windows staring blindly into the night. Built in 1910 as a hospital for tuberculosis patients, its halls once echoed with the desperate coughs of the dying. Thousands perished within these walls, their suffering seeping into the very bricks. Now their tormented spirits claw at the living. The infamous death tunnel, where bodies were secretly carted away to avoid frightening patients, still reeks of decay, with visitors reporting phantom hands brushing their necks in the suffocating darkness. Room 502 is the heart of the horror. A nurse hanged herself there in the 1930s, and her anguished sobs still pierce the silence, while others swear they've seen her body swinging from the ceiling, only for it to vanish with a whisper. Shadow figures dart through the derelict corridors, their hollow eyes following you, while gurneys roll on their own as if still carrying invisible patients. The third floor is worse. Children's laughter turns to screams in an instant, their ghostly hands tugging at sleeves, begging for help that never came. Some who've dared to spend the night emerge with scratches they can't explain, their cameras capturing faces in windows that were empty seconds before. Waverly Hills isn't just haunted, it's a gaping wound in reality, a place where the dead don't rest, they fester. Will you walk its cursed halls, or will its halls walk you straight into madness? 5. The Queen Mary. The Queen Mary, permanently docked in Long Beach, California, is a floating tomb where luxury and terror collide. This once glamorous ocean liner, launched in 1936, carries the weight of countless tragedies. Soldiers lost during its World War II service, a fatal engine room accident that crushed a man beyond recognition, and passengers who never disembarked, even in death. The ship's pool area, drained and decaying, echoes with splashes and laughter from phantom swimmers, while the first-class staterooms are plagued by the spirit of a woman in white, her mournful wails seeping through the walls at night. Below deck, the engine room reeks of burning metal and sweat, where visitors report being grabbed by unseen hands, Perhaps the ghost of the young crewman who still tends to the boilers in the afterlife. But the darkest corner is cabin B340, sealed off for years after maids refused to enter. Those who dare stay there tell of lights flickering to life, faucets turning on by themselves, and the suffocating feeling of being pinned to the bed by something inhuman. The Queen Mary doesn't just sail on memories. It's a ghost ship, its corridors humming with restless energy, its portholes reflecting faces that shouldn't be there. Will you wander its grand halls, or will something from the ship's bloody past decide to wander you? 6. Gettysburg Battlefield. Gettysburg Battlefield in Pennsylvania is more than hallowed ground. It's a place where the screams of the past never faded. Over 50,000 soldiers fell in 3 days of carnage during the Civil War's bloodiest battle, and many never left. Visitors report phantom regiments materializing in the mist at Devil's Den, their spectral muskets firing soundless volleys before vanishing into the twilight. The wheat field, where thousands died in a frenzy of slaughter, crackles with disembodied moans, while the scent of gunpowder and blood sometimes stains the air without explanation. At night, the ghostly figure of a barefoot soldier, believed to be a sharpshooter who perished in the rocks, is seen begging for water near Little Round Top, his hollow eyes reflecting horrors only he can see. Electronic voice phenomena recordings capture desperate pleas in the dark. Find my rifle. They're coming. Even skeptics shudder at the sensation of unseen hands tugging at their clothes near the bloody pond, where wounded men once crawled to drink, only to turn the waters red. The battlefield doesn't just remember the dead, it resurrects them, replaying fragments of their terror like a broken record. Will you walk these fields at dusk, or will the echoes of Pickett's charge march straight through you? 7. The Myrtles Plantation. The Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana, oozes Southern Gothic horror from its very foundations. A place where Spanish moss drapes like funeral veils over a history drenched in blood and betrayal. Built in 1796, this most haunted home in America is said to host at least 12 restless spirits, their tragedies woven into the creaking floorboards. The most infamous is Chloe, a slave who allegedly poisoned the plantation owner's daughters after having her ear severed for eavesdropping. Now her ghost, clad in a green turban, appears in photographs with a chilling smirk, her presence often accompanied by the sound of dragging chains. The mirror in the foyer holds a particularly gruesome secret. It's said to reflect the faces of the dead, with visitors catching glimpses of skeletal grins or the ghostly children who still laugh and play in the halls. The grand piano plays itself at midnight, its keys moving as if pressed by invisible hands, while guests report waking to the sensation of being smothered by unseen forces. Perhaps the vengeful spirit of William Winter, a lawyer shot on the porch who still staggers through the house, his dying footsteps echoing on the stairs. The air hangs thick with the scent of magnolias and something darker, a metallic tang that lingers like old blood. The Myrtles doesn't just house ghosts, it cultivates them, a breeding ground for sorrow, where every whisper carries a warning. Some sins never rest. Will you dare to sleep in its cursed beds, or will you become another face in that terrible mirror? 8. The Lemp Mansion. The Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri, stands as a crumbling monument to a family cursed by madness and suicide, its opulent halls now choked with the echoes of their despair. Once the lavish home of the Lemp brewing dynasty, the mansion's grandeur masks a history of unnatural deaths. 3 family members took their own lives within these walls, their tormented spirits refusing to move on. The most active is William Lemp Jr., whose ghost still paces the attic, his heavy footsteps punctuated by the phantom clink of whiskey bottles, while the scent of cigar smoke, his trademark, lingers in empty rooms. Visitors report sudden temperature drops in the basement, where the original tunnel to the brewery lies sealed, and disembodied whispers slither through the air like secrets too terrible to speak aloud. The 3rd-floor bedroom, where William shot himself, remains a hotspot of paranormal activity. Sheets are yanked from beds, unseen hands stroke sleeping guests' faces, and some awaken to the sensation of a cold revolver pressed against their temple. Even the mansion's grand staircase seems alive. Many have glimpsed the ghostly figure of Elsa Lemp, the most beautiful woman in St. Louis, descending in her wedding gown before vanishing mid-step. Her suicide, by gunshot, forever replaying in the shadows. The Lemp mansion doesn't just harbor ghosts. It festers with them, a gilded cage where the dead reenact their final moments on an endless, agonizing loop. Will you sip bourbon in their parlor? Or will the Lemps pour you a drink from beyond the grave? The Villisca Axe Murder House. The Villisca Axe Murder House in Iowa is a time capsule of unspeakable horror, its walls still echoing with the screams of 8 butchered souls. On June 10th, 1912, an unknown assailant crept into this modest white farmhouse and slaughtered the Moore family and 2 young house guests as they slept. Children still tucked beneath blood-soaked blankets, their skulls crushed by an axe left leaning against the wall like a macabre trophy. Today, the house stands frozen in terror, its untouched rooms radiating a sickening dread that seeps into visitors' bones. Those who dare enter report the sound of children's laughter twisting suddenly into shrieks, the creak of floorboards where no one walks, and the overwhelming stench of iron and old blood that comes without warning. The attic, where the killer may have hidden for hours watching the family, hums with a predatory energy. Many feel an invisible presence breathing down their necks, while others flee in terror after seeing shadowy figures crouching in the corners. The children's bedroom is worst of all. Toys move on their own. Tiny handprints appear in the dust, and some visitors awaken to the sensation of small fingers brushing their faces in the dark. The Villisca house doesn't just hold memories of violence. It replays them, trapping guests in a nightmare where something still watches from the closet, still waits under the bed, still grips that bloody axe. Will you spend the night, or will the killer's unfinished business become yours? 10 Bobby Mackeys Music World. Bobby Mackeys Music World in Wilder, Kentucky isn't just a honky-tonk bar. It's a portal to hell, where the stench of brimstone lingers beneath the twang of country music. Built atop a former slaughterhouse and rumored mob dumping ground, the basement hides a well that locals whisper was used for satanic rituals, its dark waters pulsating with unnatural energy. The ghost of Johanna, a pregnant dancer murdered here in the 1930s, haunts the women's bathroom, her anguished sobs echoing off the tiles as faucets turn on full blast by themselves. Patrons report glasses shattering untouched, shadow figures slithering along the walls, and the sudden gut-churning feeling of being watched from the stage where Bobby Mackey himself once fled mid-performance after seeing a demonic face leer from the crowd. The basement is worse. Those who descend the rotting stairs speak of a crushing presence, of invisible hands that leave bruises, and a voice that growls from the darkness in no human tongue. Some say the well's water turns to blood when no one's looking, while others swear they've seen the ghost of a mob victim still chained to its rim, his rotted lips mouthing warnings. The bar's jukebox plays eerie, unheard songs at 3 a.m., its switches flipping on their own as if the dead demand one last dance. Bobby Mackeys doesn't just have ghosts. It's a stage for the demonic, where every shot of whiskey comes with a side of dread. Will you raise your glass, or will something from the well raise its head to greet you?